All right, we're live with another live hangout here on Patreon. Thanks for joining us. The topic for the hangout today is going to be Durian 101. So basically, we're just going to share our thoughts and our experiences and our knowledge about durian, how to pick out the good durian, where is durian,
differences between Thailand and Malaysia.
Yeah, just a general chill talk about durian, hoping to give you some pointers if you're interested in the topic, which you should be, because durian is seriously
something to be interested in.
Oh, that's so good. Yeah. Before we get started though, we'll just check that all the technical stuff is fine.
Mm-hmm.
Is it? It seems to be.
It seems to be fine. Stream status good.
If the stream falls out or if anything happens, let us know immediately in the chat. And if you want to say hi in the chat, that would be awesome too. So we know who's with us.
Yeah.
If you're watching the recording of this, because of course this is live right now, but we'll post it on YouTube in a few weeks. And if you're watching the recording of this, know that you can join the next one live by going to patreon.com and joining us there, because we do these every month.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Jenny, and hi, Diane.
Good to have you with us.
And good to know everything looks and sounds good. We're actually streaming from my new computer.
Yeah.
I got a new computer, a new laptop, and
which was very much needed, considering yours was old.
Yeah, I was editing on a computer that was a bit slow. So now I'll be able to better edit, and hopefully the camera quality is okay for you guys.
Yeah. Hello also to C.A. Hall.
Hey. So we're very glad to have you with us. It's a epic summer's day here in Norway.
Yeah, it's extremely green. It's the most green you could possibly imagine.
Yeah,
it's also very blue.
Powerful. The summer in Norway is very explosive. It's very short, and everything just comes out like bam, and all the leaves are so fresh and young, and the vibe is just extremely high. So we had a good day at the gym.
Yeah.
Lifting.
Very much so.
And and now we're here. Diane, pictures better than usual. Cool. Maybe that's because of my computer. Partly because the lighting is better, which is probably again because it's summer.
Mm-hmm.
So the sun is higher up, which means that there's more of the spectrum of light that comes through, and it just gives better lighting.
Mm-hmm. Segue. Good lighting gives good durians.
Yeah, when you're in the tropics, that's where you get the good durian. So I guess we can get into it.
Mm-hmm.
It's hot today here, which is very rare in Norway. That is pretty hot, but today it's pretty hot, and that's good, because we're going to talk about durian, and durian is always eaten in hot conditions.
Yeah,
too hot conditions usually, sweating. And C.A. Hall says, "My name is Autumn." Hey, Autumn. I agree. The picture looks great. That's good to know. Glad to have all you guys with us. Feel free to ask any questions you like, or comment, or anything in the chat. We have the chat there on the camera, on the screen.
Yeah, because we're pretty loose on the topic today. We don't have a plan. We're just going to go through it from our head.
Spontaneous flow.
So what's the most important thing about durian?
Well, first we can talk about what durian is, because of course I'm sure there's some people looking at the recording of this, maybe, and who knows, maybe some of you guys don't know that much about durian. So durian is a fruit. Obviously, it's a tropical fruit. It's like a deep tropical fruit. You can't really find it on the fringes of the tropics. You can't really find it in. I don't even think it grows up in Chiang Mai.
No,
it favors hot and humid equatorial type climates.
Yeah. I mean, we've had it in Cairns in Australia, but that's the way north of Australia, far north. But not any lower than, not even in Brisbane.
No, and we haven't been there really either.
No.
There's a lot of different places around the world that grows durian. We haven't been to a fraction of them almost. We just pretty much been to Thailand and Penang and Bali and Australia. All of these places. Basically, the main place for durian cultivation worldwide is Southeast Asia. And down, even including Australia a little bit, Indonesia, up to Thailand, Vietnam, Cambodia, these areas. There are durian farms we've heard in Costa Rica and in the neotropics, which is this area. It's possible probably to find it here and there.
But it's like only been imported by a very small amount of people,
Not imported, but grown.
Grown. But technically, I mean,
I know what you mean.
The few people that grow durian have probably taken durian from Thailand or whatever and brought it back to Costa Rica like 10 years ago, 20 years ago. It's very little of it.
It's native to, what is it called, that island again? Borneo, which is half Indonesian, half Malaysian. Jenny says, I've ever had frozen imported durian, but it's still my #1 favorite food ever. Yeah, it's really good.
We'll talk about frozen probably, but
let's do it now.
Yeah, frozen durian is it can be really good. Most of the time it's pretty mediocre, and a lot of the time it's absolutely terrible.
Yeah,
but just wait until you've had fresh. Yeah. It's like it's the difference between, I don't know.
Well, you can imagine eating a frozen banana.
Yeah,
freeze a banana, thaw the banana, it goes sloppy and weird, and then eat it, and compare that to a fresh banana. It's a pretty big difference.
Yeah.
And if you compare that again to a fresh, ripe banana or durian at the source, it's even better. So, but yeah, frozen durian is definitely can be decent. I'm looking to get some frozen durian myself one of these days. Actually, I'm pretty keen on durian. We just made a video about Lindsay, her book. Lindsay from Year of the Durian, she wrote a book, Durian Tourist Guide to Thailand, and you can buy the book on our website. That made me really durian hungry.
Yeah,
talking about that book.
Yeah.
So durian is a tropical fruit. It's very ancient. Like it's been around for a long time.
Really long time.
There's a lot of other primates, like orangutans, for example, that they really love it in the wild. There are other animals like tigers like them. I know elephants love them. It's not like your average fruit.
I think the earliest mentions, I really don't know. Lindsay knows a lot about this from Year of the Durian, but I know there's some really old paintings of like Thailand, and you can see durians there. I remember there's some travelers from the times of yore who have been writing about durian.
It's a legendary fruit. There are legends about durian, and it's on the more modern note. It's like there's an obsession about durian going around the world, because in two different opposite ways. Like in one way, people are obsessed about durian the way we're obsessed about durian, which is, oh my God, it is the most intense mouth pleasure that you can possibly have on earth. It is so good. And when you try something like that, it's almost impossible not to get obsessed.
Yeah.
And we've
especially such as us, because we're obsessive by nature.
Yeah, when we lock on to something we're passionate about, it's 100%. Right now it's fitness.
Yeah, it's pretty much the reason we went traveling time and time again, especially to Thailand. Pretty much only for durian.
Yeah. So there's a lot of people obsessed and a lot of people on the durian trail traveling worldwide, especially fruitarians, totally into the fruit. But there's also a lot of other people talking about durian from a kind of negative standpoint, because it's almost a notorious fruit, or infamous. I don't know those words, which one is the best. But people say it stinks. People say, oh my God, durian, it's like the stink fruit. Some people say it smells like hell and tastes like heaven. I can't relate. I mean, I know it's a special smell. It's a particular smell, and I can notice those sulfur compounds in there, which I do understand can be reminiscent of rotting proteins, because when protein breaks down, it releases sulfur, and this kind of egg smell almost is what people probably refer to.
I've smelled the smell, certain similarities in rotting eggs, in what's it called? onions.
Yeah. But I still cannot really relate, because for me, from the moment I first smelled it, it was a good smell. And I'm not talking about it like, noni is a disgusting smell. Like, it's instinctively disgusting to smell a noni fruit. But I like it because I'm kind of just like, I like it. Just like I used to like cheese a lot. But it's not like that. It's not like durian is an instinctive negative smell and you kind of, I like it. No, it's an actual delicious smell. It's a smell, it's a sweet and attractive smell. I think so. Why people think it stinks, I don't know. But enough about that. It's a big famous fruit anyway. Everyone's talking about it.
Yeah. Jenny Marie says that I desperately want to try the fresh ones. There is a place in Little Saigon that apparently sells some fresh, but probably really expensive. You can get it fresh. You recently seen some in Oslo, fresh on the street.
I did, and I picked it up and I smelled it, and it was like, wow, like I think this is actually pretty decent.
But of course, these are the exported ones, and they will of course be picked early, but that doesn't mean it'll be bad. But you're not going to get the same experience as in Thailand. No. The freshest of the best stuff.
It's kind of like eating imported mangoes versus mangoes at the spot. There's always another level. But yeah, I think if you try some imported fresh durian, you could be in luck, but you could also be not in luck. And we'll get into how to select durian. So just pretty soon we'll start talking about the factors to look out for when picking out durian, and that's going to apply to those fresh ones.
Yeah.
Diane says, I think it's partly because when it isn't fresh, it can smell especially bad, and I think that's true. And also the association when something has been frozen and thawed, it sort of looks a little bit disgusting,
like slimy and gray. And
so when people see that and they smell that strange smell, and they sort of put one and two together, and it's just like, oh, that's nasty.
Yeah. Honestly, we've had frozen durians, whole frozen durians that we've thawed, and even I think looks kind of disgusting.
And it was kind of disgusting at one time. It was really disgusting. But another time we had the frozen durian that was, I would almost put it up as one of the best durians I've ever had, in the garden in Cairns.
It was pretty good.
So yeah, Jenny loves noni. That's good. I love noni too.
One of the few.
It's a strange fruit. All right, so durian grows in Southeast Asia. It's a tropical fruit. It's famous for many reasons. We first picked up on it when we heard about it through the raw vegan YouTube community. Durian Rider, Carly was talking about it, and I guess he was the main one. But then we came across Lindsay from Year of Durian, and we saw some videos, a presentation from her and her husband Rob, and they talked about, this is amazing fruit, and they were out traveling to eat it. That sort of put us on the trail. And if you read some of I think I wrote an article a little while back about my first durian. Yeah. You can check out that on our website, an article about my first time trying durian. But
try to remember that. Put in the card.
Yeah. Soon enough, we were hooked, to say the least. And we're not going to go through our whole experience with eating durian. And
we did that in a previous podcast.
We have, I guess, to some degree.
Yeah.
But what we want to talk about today, which I guess we can get into a little bit now, is
maybe we should talk about the main difference in different countries, which will be if it's been tree ripened or not. Because as you may or may not know, durian is only truly botanically ripe when it falls from the tree naturally. You cannot do anything. You need to wait, and suddenly it will drop from the tree, fall to the ground, and then you can eat it there and then.
Yeah, there's a little joint at the stem which drops. It's supposed to drop there. A little intersection, or what I want to call it. Drops when it's ready.
In Thailand, however, their culture is so that they cut the durian before it's ripe and then let it ripen off the tree, much like bananas or papayas, which can also be picked truly tree-ripened, by the way, but yeah, they let them ripen a few days after it's been picked.
Thailand is a industrial nation that exports a lot of fruits, so it makes sense. Just like in Costa Rica, they grow a lot of bananas, and of course they cut them all early in order for them to last shipping around the world, etc. Same with Thailand. They cut them early so that they can be frozen or sent out fresh or sent around the country, and it's just easier to handle early cut durian. But it's important to say here that it's not that they necessarily cut it way early. Ideally speaking, I think I've heard something like they should be cut like 5 or 10 or 15 days, just 10 days maybe before full ripeness, which means that it's not going to make that big a difference, but it definitely makes the difference.
And in the vegan community, there's a lot, like Thailand gets a lot of flack for cutting durian. Everyone's hating on the cut durian because it's not as tasty, it's not as sweet, etc. But honestly, this comes down to taste preference. Yes, I can recognize the fact that there is less depth. There's always going to be less of everything when you cut the durian. However, you gain something as well, and that's mainly in texture and lightness, perhaps, and
fluffiness. Like a montong in Thailand is going to be really fluffy and like I don't know, like marshmallowy and sort of firm but soft at the same time. Whereas a tree-ripened durian is just all soft. It's all mushy. Which is awesome as well. I mean, it's the point is not really to distinguish one over the other, say one is better than the other, but in our experience, we kind of like both. And if anything, we've been used to Thai durian, so we've started to almost prefer getting our durians just a tad firm rather than being fully tree-ripened. But a good amount of tree-ripened durian is nice as well. So in Malaysia, I think there's a law, I've heard that there's a law against cutting durians early. You need to let them drop. Same is probably not a law, but there's like most durian around Southeast Asia is probably tree-ripened because that's the nature's way. So yeah.
Now I was going to go into how they crack open.
Right. So before we do that, we should probably then start talking more in general about how to pick out durian and what to look for and stuff, and that cracking thing is part of that.
Yeah, I guess. When a durian is either picked early or fall naturally from the tree, the best way to check if it's actually fresh is to look at the durian itself and look at certain parameters of it to see the freshness. Because
let's talk about
you can buy, as we've talked about many times before, with other fruits you can pick depending on how long it is until the fruit would naturally tree ripen, it will also ripen faster off the tree. Which means that if a fruit was picked way too early, especially durian, it will only become ripe and edible and soft after it's been going like 2 weeks.
Yeah, so it'll be old. It'll look old and ugly, whereas a fresh durian looks fresh.
That's why a lot of raw vegans eat really old, super cracked durians and saying, "Oh, they're the best," but they're not. The best ones will always be as fresh as possible, yet ripe.
Yeah. Jenny asks, is durian typically only grown in orchards, or can trees be found growing around public areas? No, they will definitely not grow around public areas because it's dangerous. People die every year from durian that drops in their head. Oh yeah, a lot of people die from it. I think it's a hazard. So it wouldn't grow in public areas, but does it only grow in orchards versus does it grow sort of on the edges of the road, etc.? I don't know. In Thailand, everything is so organized. So in Thailand, it's mostly just orchard. It could be next to the road though. Like a tree could of course, but it's part of an orchard. I don't know if it just sort of grows randomly because I think it's very consciously planted.
Yeah, although obviously, depending on how far out on the country you go, there's going to be lots of trees everywhere as well,
Yeah.
randomly. I mean, you remember the really old one Jake was picking.
Was that a random one?
Yeah, it was on the
in a courtyard,
Yeah,
kind
yeah.
of. Yeah, that's a public area, I guess. But.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have to distinguish now when we talk about how to pick out good durian and what signs to look for. We have to distinguish between tree-ripened and not tree-ripened, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So we can do tree-ripened first because that's the easiest.
Yeah.
When the durian drops, it's best right there and then, like as soon as possible. Just a disclaimer, I'm sure there's some faults in what we're going to tell you now, because we're not uber experts like Lindsay. I'm sure there could be a durian that drops but needs to wait a few days, or maybe there's varieties that are different. So take our words with a grain of durian. But generally speaking, the sooner as it drops, you can eat it.
Mm-hmm.
But it will be fresh, which means the skin is really tough and full of water, because it's fresh. It's not full of water, but it hasn't dried up yet. So getting into it can be without a knife. Well, you can knock it.
Totally depends on the variety.
There
are varieties that you will never be able to open without a knife, and there are the ones that you can just stick your little finger into and just pull apart.
Yeah, that's true.
Many of them are actually almost designed from nature to be able to open from the get-go.
Yeah. Generally speaking, I'm going to use an orange. Pretend this is a durian. It's way too small and it's the wrong color, obviously. Durians are generally, between this size and like this size, but like typically like this is a durian there. And if we just shrink it down and add some color, we could pretend this is a durian. Okay. At the bottom, let's say that's where it hung. So that there's a stem. And then at the bottom here, that's where you can open a tree-ripened durian.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a knife, you can just shove your knife in there and twist and something like that. And it'll sort of come apart in sections. There's like sections going around. And I'm sure you've seen when people eat durian, they pull out this large section, and then the scraps, when they're finished eating, it's just like a bunch of sort of
shells.
So a tree-ripened durian you can open there from the bottom, and that's pretty much it. That's how you open a tree-ripened durian.
Mm-hmm.
How to know though if your durian is tree-ripened at the market?
I mean, anywhere else than Thailand, it's likely going to be tree-ripened.
Yeah.
Because almost no one picks durians anywhere else in Thailand.
You learn. Did you have a point? You learn to smell it though a little bit. Like but this is impossible to explain. But you learn to recognize what a tree-ripened durian smells like,
mm-hmm.
as compared to a not tree-ripened durian.
Mm-hmm.
And generally speaking, if you cut a durian early and it's not ripe at all, it almost won't have a smell. The smell will be very, very subtle.
Mm-hmm.
When it's ripe, though, that's when it starts smelling a lot. Like we've gone through markets in Thailand full of durian, but no smell. And
then we know it's just like we can just leave, because you're only going to get hard durians that are not really ripened. That's like eating a green banana.
Yeah, they call it kang, which
mm-hmm.
means like hard. And we don't want kang. We want nim, which is soft, and suk, which means ripe. We made a video about that as well at one point. Lots of words and phrases, so that's maybe something you want to check out if you're going to Thailand.
Mm-hmm.
So back to the durian.
On tree-ripened durians, the stem is going to be a really good indicator, because there's going to be a stem sticking up there, and you can scratch it with your nail, and if the stem has a really thin skin and it's really green and fresh and even sticky underneath, it's going to be fresh, obviously. If it's shriveled and broken and brown and all the water has been pulled into the durian,
if it's dried up, basically,
mm-hmm. then it's going to be older.
But that doesn't mean it's tree-ripened. You can go to the market in Thailand and there's a cut durian there, and the stem is really fresh.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, it's fresh. It's just cut from the tree, but it's not ripe yet. So if you find one that the stem is fresh, but it's not ripe, and we'll get into how to know that, then It's just you need to leave it to ripen, just like you do with your bananas. But if it's fresh and smells amazing, chances are it's going to be good. It's going to be closer to tree ripened. But the most important tip for seeing if a durian is tree ripened is that there's a little on top there. As I said, the durian hangs and there's a joint, which means that when the durian drops, it drops from this point. It sort of just like loosens from that point, and you can see it. It's almost like a concave. The top is almost concave, but it is concave actually.
And it's also filled out. It's like
it's if you look at the stem, I'm gonna enlarge it. The stem goes like this. If the stem goes like that at the top, sort of like out like this, and then it's concave in there, that's a well-developed durian. Sort of that joint develops as it sort of swells as the durian matures. When they cut durians a little bit early, they usually, that sort of joint is just more like straight. These are the nitty-gritties of picking out good durian. Another thing is that if this top looks good and it's concave and you touch it and it's like sticky, it was probably dropped just today or maybe yesterday. Cut durian though, often cut in Thailand, typically cut above that joint. So you go to the market, you'll see lots of durians. They all have their stem, but the joint is still on there. So there's like, the joint is there and then it's cut on the top, and you can see it's a cut mark. Jenny asks, one of my classmates from Vietnam mentioned cooking and eating the hard seeds. I didn't really believe her, but it's something you heard of. I've heard about cooking jackfruit seeds, but durian seeds?
I've heard about durian seeds cooked as well.
Yeah?
I don't know.
We've never tried it, but I guess it's possible. There's a large and there's a vibrant durian cuisine as well. People cooking with durian.
So in Thailand,
because that was tree ripened durian I said there. So let's move into how it is in Thailand. It gets a little bit more complex almost in Thailand, how to pick out good durian.
Yeah, I think as number one is going to be the freshness thing. If it smells and if it's fresh, it's probably good. However, when you cut durian and time passes, days passes, there's going to happen something inside the durian. The shell is going to dry out, which makes it there's going to be a small gap between the flesh of the durian and the shell of the durian. So this small air in between,
cavity.
You will see people, Thai market people everywhere, checking if the durian is ripe by holding it up and knocking on the durian with a stick. They do this to hear if it's hollow sound, because then they know that the durian is parted from the shell and it's soft.
Yeah, as you can imagine, if the durian is still touching the shell and it sort of hasn't separated, it's a more dense fruit, and knocking it with a stick would just call like a kick, kick, kick sound. But as it ripens, it goes more towards cook, 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 cook. Ultimately, you have a really like cook, cook, really hollow sound, and that means it's separated. And then next level, you could pick up the durian, and when you pick up a durian, you can get a lot of cuts. So you have to sort of be careful to hold it like that and get a good grip, and then you can shake it. And if the durian is ripe, and the seeds inside, just like the hollowness there that we just talked about, is going to allow the fruit to sort of rumble around. When you shake it, you're going to feel like there's something inside, like something rattling inside. That's a good sign, and that also applies to tree ripened durians, I think. Right, when you pick up a tree ripened durian and shake it, you can feel the seeds because they've separated from the shell. So let's suppose then you are in Thailand, you're at the market, you find a fresh durian. The stem is fresh, it smells amazing, it's shaking even. Chances are, depending on the variety, if it's a montong, for example, our favorite,
which is the main variety in Thailand.
Yeah, if it's a montong, chances are it's also going to have a split. Same is true for things like kradum. And this split that everyone talks about, maybe you've seen it in frozen durians, Jenny, or any of you other guys. If you had frozen durian, you might be seeing sometimes there's a split. And this split is, again, the skin, or the shell rather, has dried up. So, right, we cut the durian early. It's not ripe. It sits to ripen over the next week or two. I don't know if it's that long or short. I don't know. And then the skin dries up. The skin dries up just like what happens on a mango. The skin shrivels up a little bit. Eventually, the shell dries up enough to allow for a crack, but it cracks naturally. That's the logic. That's what happens when something dries up. Yeah. And this crack is again then a sign that the durian has been sitting for long enough to ripen. So when you get a split, typically it's going to be ripe inside. It just happens to be that way.
And so with ripe durians, you can usually, if not almost always, especially in Thailand, be able to open the durian without a knife. Honestly, we came to a point where we just we couldn't open it with our thumb. We didn't buy it because it should be easy.
Just like trying to peel an unripe banana, it's quite difficult.
Yeah.
Really unripe. Whereas when it's ripe, it's just easy.
On that note, first off, I'm interested if have all of you guys tried durian before, and did you like it at first?
Yeah, let us know. And I also answer. Jenny says, "I always pick this," or she says, "I always pick the split ones first." Good idea, but do remember, a durian can be split but still be crap, because if it was picked so early, like we've talked about already, if it's picked so early that it took, I don't know, 3 weeks, a month before it got to the point where it split, then the fruit inside hasn't ripened properly. But the good thing about the split is that you can get a look inside. You can look, and if the durian looks good and if it smells good in there, it's probably good.
Now that depends on the variety, of course. You have durians that will never split, and
but we started opening them with our hands. That was their point. And how do you do that?
Well, there's, as you might know, along these splits, they split along a seam.
There are seams going along the fruit like that.
It's difficult to tell you where those seams are, but it's basically not where you think they are, because as you might know, durians are like there's lobules, and you might think that the split is on the like
in between in the crevice. In between there, but it's actually there.
Yeah, it's on
the protruding part, like on the outside of the protruding part. That's where the split is.
So that's where you want to cut, or even just stick your thumb and rip open.
Yeah, if you can't get your finger in, then just cut a little cut, and then you get a finger in. And with frozen durian, it's usually like you open it and you can't actually pull the whole durian apart even sometimes. Autumn says, I never have, and I doubt I will get the chance in the near future because of where I live, unless I can find frozen. Well, you can have a look for frozen in like Asian supermarkets and stuff like that. But
that said, like, I'm not sure I would recommend a first timer to go with frozen first.
No.
I think I would wait until I get the fresh one, because you might be put off by the frozen one and then have those memories in mind when you try fresh ones. And that's not ideal. I would rather do it the other way around.
Take a trip to Asia.
Yeah. Thailand is so cheap and easy to get to and so easy to get around that it's worth it only for the durian.
Yeah, I mean, we went there just pretty much only for the durian.
Diane says that the first time I tried durian, I loved it. It was thawed out frozen one from New York City's Chinatown. Since then, I've probably had a couple dozen times with a range of quality.
Yeah, cool.
That's how it is for a lot of people, I think.
Yeah. Okay, so we've found our durian. It's a little bit split open. We've opened it up. Then you go ahead and eat it. That's the best part. What about, before we talk a little bit maybe about eating it and how it makes you feel and the health aspect of it, maybe we could just quickly also tackle market how to be when you're at the market. This applies mostly to Thailand, because that's where we have our experience. I think in Malaysia, you can go to, in Singapore and stuff, you can go to durian restaurants where you sit down and you get a menu and they serve you durian. And if you don't like it, you return it, you get a new one, and they open it for you, and you eat it there at the table. And if you're buying from a stall, they're usually quite knowledgeable about durian. They really know this one is good, this one's not, this is that variety, this variety. In Thailand, it's a little bit more like the sellers don't necessarily appreciate fully the fruit that they're selling. Some do, but not all. It's more of a just like fruit seller who doesn't care that much maybe about the fruit, or I don't know, they have a culture of eating it even quite unripe in Thailand, which is annoying. So they don't understand sometimes how we want it soft. But in Thailand, you gotta basically, well, I'll get into that because first we got a lot of comments. Let's tackle them first. Diane says, I've been able to get fresh ones.
Next.
What?
I saw that one.
No, you didn't. I've been able to get fresh ones in Chinatown, but they haven't always been good. Perhaps they get too old. The best one was totally awesome. Yeah, cool. Yeah, fresh ones can be good even outside of Thailand.
You skipped Jenny's. That's why I was confused.
Oh yeah, Jenny says, I always make the mistake, try to dig in the seam rather than the round part.
We did that as well. On our first durians, we were like
cutting it.
Oh my God, we were having trouble.
Yeah, it was very difficult.
Not easy.
And it's a lot of pain involved because you start bleeding. Blood, sweat, and tears, literally, is involved. And saliva. Autumn says, I don't think if I had a frozen one and it wasn't great, it would put me off them. I realized it won't be as good. I didn't like the mango the first couple of times, but now I love it. Yeah, I guess if you're like that and you're open-minded and you're sort of able to have a like if you have a durian and it's a bad eating experience, if you're able to still stay open to it and know that it's different, if you get a good one, then you can do it, I guess. And Jenny says, I found that too. Certain stores tend to have better shipments. Yeah. So, okay, you're in the market in Thailand. You gotta basically have to be a little bit like, not necessarily work so hard with the seller, but be focused on the durian. Smell it, shake it, get them to tap it and ask for suk suk or nim nim, which means ripe and soft. And then if you can get a little peek because there's a split, or if you can't, you can ask to get a look, and they actually cut a little triangle, and you pull out there and you get a look inside the durian. You can even touch it like that with your dirty market finger. And if it's soft, then you know it's good. And if it smells amazing in there, then you know it's good. Smell is really almost like the most important factor when it comes to picking out good durian. I've had durians that didn't smell much that was still pretty good, but definitely all the best durians that just smell like fucking insane. It's just like, oh my God.
Not, not too much.
No.
We found that when durians smell like, when you're like, oh my God, that smells a lot. Awesome though, I love the smell, but when you're like that, it's probably a little bit overripe.
Yeah.
And overripe durian is not too awesome because it loses taste, it loses sweetness.
You want it just right. You don't want to go overripe on it. And that's even with tree-ripened, it's even more urgent that you eat it. Like with cut durian, there's a longer window of perfectly ripe. You can eat a little bit underripe, a little bit overripe, and a few days it's perfectly ripe. Whereas a tree-ripened durian is going to be perfect right there and then when it drops. And then for each day, for each hour even, it's going to change in its profile, which is one of the appeals of the Malaysian durian. And when you go to Baosheng, you can have durian that's dropped within the half hour, and it numbs your mouth, literally, which is pretty crazy. And then you have durian that's 2 hours old or 6 hours old, and it's the taste profile will differ a little bit. So I think generally this is part of why in Malaysia there's a durian culture, in the sense of the people love durian, and the people really, they appreciate the gourmet aspects of durian, durianism. Whereas in Thailand, most people still like durian, but they sort of, they sometimes eat it with gloves, and they're
really hard. Like if you go to Bangkok or cities, people tend to more go towards eating harder and harder durian.
Yeah, almost like crispy durian almost, which is a sin.
Just weird.
CH Autumn says, yeah, I'm flexible like that. Cool. I smell lots of fruit at the markets, and the marketers think I'm crazy.
Yeah, you're not alone.
Yeah, and isn't that crazy though, that the market people think you're crazy for smelling fruit? And it's like, that's so good that you're doing that, because that's one of the most important ways for us humans to relate to the quality of the fruit. The smell is the the step right before you taste it.
Maybe we should talk shortly and lastly about the health aspects of it.
Yeah.
Basically, we started out. Your first sensations is going to be that it's a pretty darn heavy fruit in terms of how it feels in your stomach. It's high in calories. It's higher in fat than most other fruits. And these things combined make it fairly heavier to digest, but still nothing. It's not like
It's fine. It's fine, but you do feel it a little bit heavier, and it's less water content in there. It's because it's higher in calories essentially, and you sort of, it doesn't hydrate you as well.
Which is why, when eating durian, it can be a good idea to drink water before eating the durian.
Yeah, and even a little bit while eating it. You could even sip on a coconut at the same time to dilute it a little bit, and that helps a little bit. It definitely feels pretty heavy to eat a lot of durian in the heat in Thailand and that sort of thing. And because it's so dense, if you fill up on it, you will pretty much get I don't know, 1,500, 2,000, 2,500 calories in one meal.
Which is what I did when I was eating only durian for 6 weeks. I had one meal a day, and it was 2,500 calories there.
And it kept you for basically the next 24 hours, pretty much. Which is what I like to do when I'm eating durian. We did it for a while. We just sort of, when we have a durian day, we just eat durian. And we ate a huge meal of durian, and that was it. And maybe we had some mangoes at the end of the day if we still felt like eating a little bit. It's an ecstatic experience. It's the best gustatory experience you can have. You sit down with the durian, you eat, you talk about how good it is, or you don't talk at all. You're just in a trance. So it's very intense, that experience. Afterwards, it digests and it feels a little bit heavy. And ultimately, I noticed also that because of the higher fat content and I guess the lower sugar content, it didn't satisfy me as well as mangoes. So I felt the need to eat more mangoes and fruit, and I ended up gaining weight. I've done this, I think, at 3 different occasions. Each of our durian trips, I've gained body fat while over a period of a month or 2. Simply because when there's less carbohydrates, there's less satiating, and I ended up just eating my share of durian, and I've had my calories for the day, theoretically speaking, but I still was craving something sweet, and I ended up eating more mangoes and stuff like that, and in the end I ended up gaining a little bit of weight. Not much, but a little bit.
It's also smaller in volume in terms of what you're used to eating. You might eat papayas and fill up completely, but with durian,
3 times the calories in durian than papaya, so
we've definitely over time come to realize that there are sadly certain health problems and with durian. It's not an ideal human food.
Seems like it, the way it feels anyway. And it's also the sulfur compounds in there. I think they play a role as well. Certain durians give me a headache, like chani in Thailand. And I don't feel my best when I'm eating a lot of durian. So I'm actually quite happy not to have durian as a big part of my life. But it was great for the time we were traveling and eating a lot of durian. That was awesome. And if you haven't done it, I suggest you do. If you're into fruit, you got to try a durian trip, But on a day-to-day level, I prefer not eating it. Every once in a while, sure. That's kind of, for me, just kind of like pizza. Like if I really want a pizza, I'll have a pizza and I'll suffer the effects. If I really want some durian, I'll have some durian and I'll suffer the effects. Granted, the pizza, well, it depends. Sometimes the pizza can feel better than the durian. It depends on the food itself. But Diane says, a funny fact about it is that some hotels won't let you bring it in because the leftovers can cause odor and hard to remove if you aren't neat with it. Oh yeah, we know all about that. There was a hotel.
Jake's a friend of ours, hotel room that smelled so much of durian.
Yeah.
He was somewhat untidy, let's say. He had like
He had
I
a big
think
garbage
8
bag.
garbage bags of durian shells.
Yeah, from like a week or two. Like
Yeah.
crazy. Like, but that was a durian marinating room. But we've also been at a place where we weren't allowed to bring durian inside, and the hotel owner, he did like, oh no, oh it smells bad. But it was allowed to smoke though. You could smoke in your room, but you couldn't bring durian in. But smoking was fine because that's no problem apparently.
Jenny Marie says that durian is a chocolate cake of the raw vegan world. Totally.
Yeah.
I mean, we've even had durians that taste exactly like hot chocolate.
Yeah.
That's the best part of durians. There's so much variety that you can get durians that taste like hot chocolate, and you can get durians that taste like freaking hamburgers.
It's so much varieties in taste and depth, and the profile is just insane. And yeah, Autumn, it's true that they banned it on some trains and buses too. It's basically kind of, I feel like it's probably not that it stinks that much, it's that it's very intense. Even if you like it, it is intense. And just like if you're on a bus, you don't want really, it's sort of, if you're sitting next to someone who's eating a very intense curry, it smells a lot. It's not that it smells bad, it's just that it smells a lot. And the same thing as durian. Durian smells a lot. We tried to smuggle it in on the plane one time, but they didn't allow us. So we had to eat it all, and we just finished a huge meal of durian. We ended up eating another huge meal of durian and burping durian in the airplane all the way home to Norway. Oh, seriously, we ate probably 3,000-4,000 calories of durian over the course of a couple of hours, maybe 5,000. I don't know. It was just like a huge durian eating session, 2 sessions. Yeah, that was epic. Diane, as much as I love it, I don't feel great after the first couple of hours of eating it, and don't sleep quite well that night. I feel fantastic the first couple of hours, but then I get fatigued. Yeah, that sounds similar to our experience. It's pretty much, that's how it is.
However, we also noticed, I was so focused on how it feels. I get this kind of weird bubble feeling. I kind of, when I was eating only durian, I remember having this being inside a bubble, almost like there's like a sure.
Yeah, just the brain fog, you're gonna call it,
which lasts for a long time. And I can feel this from only eating like 200 grams of durian. We were experimenting a lot, and I was trying to have dinners with like mangoes, but having 200 grams of durian. And even that small amount made me feel somewhat not optimal. There's a certain freshness and cleanness that you feel when you're eating high water or just
high carbohydrate fruits, and not durian. I guess I forgot to ask my hairdresser from Thailand about bringing back a couple. Yeah. Do you mean like feeling a weight on you? That's how it feels to me.
Yeah, you could say that, but it's not. Yeah, but it's not necessarily the weight in the stomach, of course. But yeah.
So not the healthiest probably, and I don't feel optimal on it, but definitely worth it to try out. It's the king of fruits. It's the king of fruits, and it's worth traveling to Asia just to do that. And if you are traveling there, if you're watching this video maybe, and you're heading to Thailand, I would suggest you check out our book, The Way of the Fruitful Traveler, which is all about traveling lightweight in tropics, and Lindsay's book, which is the Durian Tourist's Guide to Thailand, which is all about how to pick out durian more in depth than what we talked about today. Durian is the junk food of the fruit world and should only be eaten in small portions. You could almost say that.
Chocolate cake?
The chocolate cake, yeah. Some people say it's really not a problem, though. I don't know. In my experience, it feels like a problem, yeah. Anything else we should just touch on before we wrap it up? I mean, is there anything else? We talked about how to pick out durians. There's lots more to say though. Like Durian 101, we could do this for 2 hours. But how to pick out durian, differences between Thailand and Malaysia, the season. I mean, that depends on the location, but generally Thailand is like April, May, June, July, August, September, from the east to the south. And I'm not sure about Malaysia. I think in the summer, like June, July, that kind of thing.
The best is just to check out Lindsay's book again. She has a good overview of all the seasons there.
Yeah, yeah. Anything else about durian we haven't talked about?
Diane says that it might be that some people are more sensitive to high fat than others. Maybe.
I don't feel like it has that much to do with the fat, though. I feel like it's more because I've tried.
I think there might be certain compounds in durian.
Yeah, because I've had the same fat percentage of durian in my day, and then I've tried with avocados, and it's not the same. Like there's something particular about durian.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about something. What was it? Yeah, just when you're buying frozen durian, remember that they're picked early, and then they ripen to a certain point, and then they're frozen, and they won't really ripen after that. So if you want a good frozen durian, you're dependent on finding a durian that's been frozen at a perfect ripeness.
Mm-hmm.
This is important, actually. This applies to what I'm going to say. So look for the ones that are ripe. And how do you see that? Well, you got to look inside and see if the color is right and it's not completely white. It should have a yellow tint to it. Montong is a pale yellow. Other durians have a more darker yellow. But one important tip, which we haven't talked about, which applies to frozen and fresh and all durians, generally speaking, is that you want to look for a well-developed fruit.
Mm-hmm.
With Montong, for example, you can have some fruits that are small and really like the lobules aren't really spread out.
Durians are supposed to be filled out and uniform.
Yeah, so look for durians that are sort of filled out, uniform, well-developed, and where the spikes have sort of spread out a little bit and they're not sort of together, but they're sort of like it's opened up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think. Anything else?
I'm sure there's much, but
the main thing you want to know from Durian 101 is that one day, sooner or later, you got to go to Thailand or Malaysia, or preferably both, and try the king of fruits. Because if you're into fruit, it's just another level. It's a religion. Mm-hmm. Like when we go there, we eat only durian. We are durian yogis. It's just like, oh, gotta do it. Autumn is getting hungry.
So
good.
Are we.
Yeah, durian hungry. But we don't have any durian here, but we gotta make do with what we got. Diane, maybe some people are more sad that you said that.
Mm-hmm. I think that's all.
We're gonna wrap it up. We have wrapped it up.
Yeah.
Hope your day is awesome where you were at. It's a natural high. I'm so ready, Jenny says. All right, thanks for joining us here. It's so cool to hang out with you guys live and have you talk to you from the chat. It's cool that you're, supporting us there on Patreon. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
It makes a big difference to us. We appreciate the interaction, and that's all good. And if you're watching the recording of this on Patreon or even on YouTube, know that if you're on level 5 on the Patreon thing, you can join us in the chat. Everyone else can watch it as we post it later.
Mm-hmm.
And then on YouTube, if you're watching it there, by now you know this, that you can go to Patreon to sign up and join the next one.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Jenny. We will enjoy our sunshine. Thank you, Audrey. Thanks to all of you.
Not Audrey. Autumn.
No, Autumn.
Yeah.
Thanks to all of you.
And Diane.
We will enjoy the rest of our day and hope you guys will as well.
Yeah. All righty. Thanks.
Thanks for watching, and goodbye in a few seconds. Bye.